Hello and welcome to one of the first S24 Spotlight on. And today we came all the way to Connected Development Office. And it will be like a roundtable discussion on a lot of things about code and follow the money. Good afternoon, Mr. Hamzat Lawal.
Good afternoon, and thank you for being here.
My colleague, Mr. John Costa, is joining us on this discussion. It's like informal, but I think we'll explore a lot about what you do and the way we should change narrative as young people in Nigeria. So, Mr. John, I'm giving you the mic.
Great, thank you. Thank you for welcoming us to your organisation. Can you tell us a little bit about how you first came up with the idea from code? Did you have it many years it took before you set it up? You'd always been advocating from being a Boy Scout and seeing communities?
Honestly, all of this was never planned. I remember just watching television and there was news flash that over 400 children had died due to artisanal mining in Zamfara State, that's northwest Nigeria. And I remember government announcing it as a national emergency, and from their response, they released billions of naira, which is millions of dollars. And so 2 years afterwards, I was trying to get knowledge and information on how government responded and what was the plight of the people. And what kind of intervention went to the community. So I went to the Ministry of Health, I went to the Ministry of Mines and Solid Minerals, and the Ministry of Environment. And nobody could really, put me to what has happened or share knowledge or information. So I got frustrated, and I got on the bus going to Zamfara State. And interestingly, that was my first time going to the state. It took me over 7 hours to go to the capital under about 40, 42 degrees, so it was really hot. And so I got to the capital and I was told I still have to travel further. I got on another vehicle that took me about 4.5 hours on a terrible road. I got to that local government, this Anchor local government. I was told, well, I still have to travel further. So, wow. So this time I had to go on a motorbike, a donkey, or a horse. So I rode on a motorbike. And there was no roads, it was a pathway. It took me about 4 hours. When finally I got to this community. One, I found out that over 700 children had died, so it was underreported 2 years ago. Two, I found out that 1,500 children were very sick and at the verge of losing their life. Three, no single healthcare intervention, no government present, nothing. So no single cent on the dollar or no single kobo of the billions that was approved and released got to this community. And I asked them, are you aware? Are you informed? They say, yeah, they had on radio that government had released money, but they've been waiting for over 2 years. Like, wow. And so for me, with the permission of the communities, on my smartphone, I took pictures and videos, which is amateur pictures and videos. I came back to Abuja, and I started a campaign on Twitter. So this entire organization first started on Twitter, which is now X. Yes, so what I was doing was aggregating the information, sharing the pictures and video, and people could relate because everyone is from some community or village. Mm-hmm. And these grandmothers who I spoke to, in a household, they've lost 14 children. I spoke to a mother who has lost 3 children. I spoke to rural miners because I wanted to get to the root of the problem. By the way, to access the mining site, I had to take another motorbike, and we rode for another 2 hours deep into the forest. At that point, there was no network on my mobile phone. I was literally in the middle of nowhere. So I spoke to local miners. So why are you mining when you know it's killing children? For them, it's about coming out of poverty, being able to fend for their family and provide shelter and food. So, with the campaign, in less than 48 hours, it went viral. So from Twitter, it went to the international media that picked it up, and it came to mainstream media in country, and it became a national and international conversation about the plight of rural communities who were ravaged by lead poisoning. And in less than 72 hours, the then President Goodluck Jonathan, approved the sum of $5.3 million that was needed. And that's how we came about Follow the Money. And for us, we wanted to answer, where is the funds coming from? Federal government. Where is it going to? The state. Particularly the rural communities, and how is this fund being utilized, most importantly, to ensure that it doesn't get to private pocket like previous money. And that's how we started as as an informal organization. Then we grew, from 1 to 5 to 10, and all of us volunteers, activists, campaigners, students, really young that time. remember I was about 24, 25 years old. So finally, it became a movement. We have over 35,000 young people who are using digital skills, digital media to add their voice to social issue and bring about attention that is dearly needed in rural communities, not only in Nigeria, but now across 12 African countries.
Okay, so from that single activity that took you, a whole day traveling, it means that was when connected development and full management came by for over a decade now. That's almost 13 years or something like that. You've been doing something like this. We did this as a preamble for people to understand where Code started from. So we'll be talking about the things that you do today. I know it's not easy sustaining something like this because you need funding.
Yeah.
Where did your first funding came from?
Interestingly, I remember I got an email from a UK-based grant-making organization, the Indigo Trust. So I got an email saying, we followed your work on Twitter, which is now X. We love what you do, and we support young people using technology to amplify voices and bring about change. And we'll be visiting Nigeria, meeting a few friends and partners, and would like to meet with you. And they said in their email that they will be in Lagos, but I was based in Abuja. But so I replied and said, I'm based in Abuja, but I'm willing to take a road trip to Lagos and meet with you. And so they responded, don't worry, we'll be in Abuja and we'll have a meeting. I remember we had about 2.5 hours meeting, just sharing what we did with Save Bagega campaign on Twitter. And so they asked me that time, what's your biggest challenge? At that time, we needed a space where we can, host our volunteers, train them, just have a convergent space, for conducive work environment. Secondly, we needed money for internet because internet is really expensive.
At the time.
Yes. Even up to now, internet is really expensive. It's not affordable. And then we needed money for transportation to go to different communities because now we're so popular. Different communities, when we have radio program, they will call in, we need you to come and activate in our community. So we just needed money for those 3 specific issues. So I remember they went back to the UK after a few weeks. They wrote me and said we should send in a proposal. Interestingly, again, before that time, I've never written a proposal. So I had to go, download templates. Unlike now that you have AI, then there was no AI, but we had Google. So I Googled a lot of templates, and I just wrote 11 pages, I remember. And then they replied with one line, please, can you summarize in 2 pages, what you want to do when we give you money? I remember it was a struggle, but I was able to come up with 3 pages. And we had Skype meetings with some of the board members. They were asking me questions to defend my proposal. And afterwards, we got over £9,000, which is about 2.5 million naira at that time. And we got a space, 25 square meter space. We furnished it. We paid for internet subscription for 1 year. And then the remaining money, we use it for transportation, going to different communities. Yeah, so that's how we started getting grants. Even as an unregistered informal activist group,
Now, one of the things that I've always come across, particularly in the UK, but when you go to different communities like, Pakistan or Cambodia and stuff where we've done work, you always find that there's a disconnect between what people want to give you money for and what you need the money for. Do you think that the amount of time that you run your organisation is now and the reputation you've got and your credibility, particularly from the federal government, means that you're actually able to say this is what we need the money for and people support you in it?
Yes, I think for us, because we're impact-driven, we're specific, and you can actually measure some of our results and successes. Because we're one organization that brings the critical voice of the people who people don't even know they exist, and they're literally disconnected to the national grid, and government is disconnected to them. So we're able to bring that voice to policy and decision making using data, using information, and also taking feedback from government to the same people. So over 80% of our grants are people saying, we want to support you. How can we support you? So we are able to define, and this has helped us to grow and scale and also remain consistent and not, doing so many things without being able to measure it. So for us, it was like that. But of course, now the space is shrinking, particularly the donor landscape is changing. with the global economic issues, and with, USAID, being disbanded, and EU and even other governments changing their focus on how they want to support development across, the continent and the world.
Well, that brings me to say, with the USAID disbandment, and I know they are one of your major funders, right?
They were one of our supporters. Yeah.
Okay. So, as it is, I think would say Africa needs to look inward in terms of funding projects like this. And the sustainability, like Mr. John mentioned in the informal conversation, that with the Sustainable Development Goals in other climes, there is no belief in achieving the 2030 target. Now that we see cuts in funding and all of these things going around in the international donors, where do you think we should look into to get funding from our community, immediate community? Because like you said, there are multiple billionaires that are looking for where to put their money.
Yeah.
They need trusted organization. They need to be approached as well.
Yeah. So for me, I think, and this ties to the conversation about localization. How do we localize our approach? How do we support homegrown initiative that tackles, issues within the community themselves? And how do we approach philanthropists and individuals and even private sector to mobilize finances and resources for development, and also support, activist movements or advocacy group like ours? And, we have a couple of billionaires. 3 billionaires in Nigeria have the wealth of over 30 countries within the continent. So if you look at the Oxfam report, for instance, there's just about 5 people have the wealth of over 50 countries, and 2 or 3 of those people are from Nigeria. So again, it's how do we look at these people, understanding that, you can be so wealthy, but in the midst of very poor people, you're also a poor person.
Yeah.
And how do you enjoy your wealth when everybody around you is poor and you feel a sense of insecurity because, everyone is looking at you. So again, it's to rethink, those kind of approach, but most importantly, mobilizing local resources for local problem, because it makes it sustainable. People take ownership, and then there's accountability mechanism.
I think also the way that you use, you very rarely hear people say Twitter, now X, because normally they say X, formerly Twitter. So it's quite interesting. So you could actually tell that you used Twitter when it was Twitter.
Yeah.
That actually you're advocating for the use of social media and the internet and the web in a way that it was actually designed for, which was helping and people to be able to engage. And so when people are always kind of quite negative about it, and it's like, it's used for this, and this is more exploitative, and that's all true. But I think the stories we need to be bringing are the solutions that people like your organisation are demonstrating that it's needed for, because there's a complete disconnect for a group of people. As we move into the development of the internet moving forward, and tech millionaires and billionaires and possibly a trillionaire, do you think that the opportunity to wrestle back control of social media and the internet is still there, and there'll be the sorts of things that you do that will demonstrate why it should be kept that way?
So democracy itself, it's about ensuring that people have a voice. And what internet and social media have done is give people a seat at the table and bring them closer to government. And that's why you see, even across Africa, you see world leaders on social media directly engaging, taking questions and using this platform to hold leaders accountable to their commitments, either during campaign or afterwards. But then I also recognize this threat. Now there's fake news, there's misinformation, there's disinformation, there's propaganda. And now with AI, there's also algorithm. And sometime again, some of the tech billionaires can manipulate, this algorithm to look at race, to look at region, to look at, beliefs and whatnot. But I think most importantly is to have strong regulations, not for the users, but for the tech billionaires and their platform. And I like what EU is doing, for instance, finding Facebook or X or any other platform that allows their, platform to be used for violence, for incitement, or for hate speech. Because for us as citizens, we must continue to protect, and ensure that truly democracy can strive. and people can have independent mindset. People can contribute meaningfully to, conversation that brings about shift and changes that truly impacts, ordinary people. But, I recognize all of this. But again, that's how society is engineered, and that's why, you have sociologists, and you will continue to study sociology and the evolution of society itself, not just, social media or big tech, but, society as a whole. Because today we're talking about AI. Tomorrow we don't, something else. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say, so with your advocacy and what you do, I know it's not just for Nigeria, it's Africa, because CODE is set to be one of the leading CSOs in Africa, yeah? So would you say the social media, apart from the Sid Badiega campaign that went viral and made the impact you wanted, for this over 1 decade, what impact has maybe the internet or social media made in all of the progress that you've recorded as an organization, CODE, and even Follow the Money?
One day we sat down in a meeting and we did an analysis that if we didn't have Twitter or social media or the internet, how long would it have taken for us to get the kind of attention we got for the community in Zamfara State? Maybe 200 years. Because what it meant was we'll be traveling back and forth, take data, get voices, go to government, and everything offline. Maybe within that value chain,
There will be accidents.
Yeah, there'll be accidents. Exactly. Yeah. And this work comes with huge risk, personal risk, because I remember I've been attacked before, I've been intimidated, I've been harassed by, government agencies, and luckily for me, I've never been arrested because my work is based on evidence that can be easily verifiable. So, and we've also seen that the work that we've done have given us a seat at the table. We're shaping youth policy. We're building capacity. We do boot camp annually. We've trained over 100,000 young people who now have digital skills, who have jobs that are sustainable and, and they're growing. We've had cases where governments want to come about any policy. They invite us to come and give feedback. And we're seeing that our work is also changing the narrative around, showing the young people as solutions. We're not part of the problem. We're part of the solution, and we just need government to listen to us so we can scale. And we're giving back hope, to people, to communities, that this can be done. And we've have example not only in Nigeria or the Gambia, in Cameroon, in Kenya. We've led solution-driven, initiative at a larger scale, So we've seen that the work we've done also have gotten a lot of young people interested in governance and how, in elections, for instance, where we mobilized the largest deployment of over 20,000 volunteers, sending real-time situation report. We're using it to support government security agencies just to ensure there's peace. We're tackling incitement and hate speeches, misinformation and disinformation. So for us, I also remember when Ban Ki-moon was the Secretary General of the United Nations, and he was coming to Nigeria and wanted to meet with young leaders, and I was selected to meet with him. And at that time, the conversation was post-2015 agenda. They were just wrapping up MDGs, and they were going to... So I was part of the young people who shaped what is now the SDGs, just because of the work that, we've done and we continue to do. So for us, it's really exciting that we're shaping not only local policies or national policy, but at a global level, we're shaping policy narrative and ensuring that, we're able to bring our communities to the world, and seek partnership towards, development itself.
I think also it demonstrates, doesn't it, to the world that Africa isn't a particular way that is portrayed in the media or in popular culture or, or sometimes how our politicians shape it as well. But it's actually solutions to Africans' many problems can actually come from Africans themselves.
Yes.
So how do we support and advocate and co-facilitate and co-produce with Africans themselves to do that? That must be quite good to be able to know you've played a role in the SDGs, that you were representing authentically the voice of the African youth.
Yes. For me, it was really exciting. And that's why, for me, localizing it is simple. And also prioritizing the goals and communicating the goals to relate to everyday Nigeria, everyday African, tackling poverty, tackling adequate health care, getting children back to school, because, Nigeria has one of the highest numbers, reducing inequality or empowering women and ensuring they have a seat at the table. And that's why I'm, one of the voices leading the Reserve Seat for Women bill, trying to amend our constitution to ensure that women actually take their rightful place and ensure that their voices are captured in policy and decision-making table. Climate action, for instance, and our work with the Green Wall. Just thinking about it is so exciting. And for me, it shows that the solutions and the people are homegrown, and profess the mindset is we must see them as part of the solutions, not part of the problem. Because if you see them as a problem, they become a problem and they will scale as a problem. But when you see them as part of the solution, then you see an opportunity to engage, to build capacity, to inform, and then to hold hands and move together.
When we've talked about the Great Green Wall, I know that I would like for you to shed more light on what you're doing with that project. But after that, I would like for you to speak about the projects that you're doing in the Northwest. I mean, you made mention of one of the communities you're reaching out to is no longer reachable. Yeah. Can you take us through that?
So for Great Green Wall, and this was an initiative to help revitalize the ecosystem, because, Nigeria suffers one of the most impacted as a country, where we see, desertification, desert encroachment. And if you also look at the Sahel and the kind of economic activity, and even Lake Chad Basin, you see, a region where you had so many young people, but now, it's like an arid land. And you wonder, where are those young, vibrant people who were fishermen, who were canoe or boat makers? And some of these people have been recruited into the insurgency, some of banditry, and some of them are now part of the gangs attacking various communities. And that's why, in as much as we're working hard to reach communities, even now it's harder to reach, because we're now dealing with, prevailing insecurity. So we're exposed to attack, kidnapping, even killing. So that's why some of these communities now we can access them like it was back in 2012 when we started. But we're now seeing, there's been some progress, but of course we need to see that at the larger scale.
So in a couple of minutes we should wrap up. What would the legacy mean to you? Like connect most maybe initiative or advocacy groups beyond the founder, and they don't really thrive. What is legacy to you, and what maybe parameters have you put in place to make sure that maybe long time to come or in many years from when you're no longer here, there is continuity in the project?
So for me, legacy is when I die, connected development outlives me. Yeah. Follow the money outlives me. And I think that we're getting there already, because today, follow the money is decentralized. You have country directors who are very independent, operational-wise. And for us, we just go into countries, build capacity, transfer knowledge, and allow them, run. And we've invested in human capital. We have processes and system in place that, allows for innovation, allows for people to take ownership. And when you walk into our space, you can hardly differentiate between who is actually the head and other colleagues, because we're all equals and we're all young people, and I'm invested. I've built a culture of informality. It's about your contributing your value, bringing your ideas, and working as a team. So for me, that's what I think about legacy. But also, I'm in a transition phase, because I'm also thinking about my exit, so that I don't exit when I die. I'm still alive, but I can be alive and be excited to see that the organization is growing beyond where I've led it to, So and so for me, even now, I'm taking time off to go back to school, to do a master in public policy development and governance. Get more skills and explore other things life has to offer, while watching connected development from the outside. Because I've been inside going to 15 years now. I need to take a step backward, look at it from the outside. Let other young people take ownership, let other young people lead, let them make mistakes and learn from those mistakes, because I got here from learning from my mistakes, from failing over and over again. But those failures made me resilient and made me to be able to build this organization that is now, one of the striving organizations in the continent. So for me, I'm conscious about all of these things, and because this organization is my legacy, and this is what I believe people remember me for when I pass away.
I think it's amazing, and it's wonderful to get awards like the ones behind me, and plaudits, and to be representing people as well. But actually, I think for me, one of the great things about talking to you is it's not just the organisations and the successes; it's the fact that you have allowed people to believe that there's a better way of doing it, but also you're leaving them with the skills to think actually monitoring money, tracking where it goes is an integral part. Ethics is a part of funding. And also policy makers. So that's interesting. Thank you very much for talking to us.
No, thank you. Thank you so much.
What were you saying to your younger seven, to Nigerian youth?
Okay, to Nigerian young people out there, if you don't take risk, nothing will change. Today, connected development is where she is because we took risk. We believe that we can do things differently, and we would commit into doing things differently. And for young people, you can be anything you want to be. But what's important is you must add value. You must take ownership of what your country wants to be. You must be part of the solutions, and you must add value. And to my younger self, I wish you had played a lot, because it's been, for the past 15 years, I've not played, I've just been working.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.